Hello my friends and welcome. Let's go for the front lines review. Let's start from the Russian assault that failed in Luhansk direction. We got the information from the Ukrainian officials that Russia is now trying to move near to Torske and Dibrova. However, they face with the same problems as Ukrainian army met on the south, the minefields and the enemy artillery. This time their tanks were demolished in attempt to get control over Ukrainian positions. We even have the image from the drone, so Russia used 3 of the tanks with some of the infantry. It's their usual tactics. Before, near to Vuhledar, they tried to use many of the tanks but were totally demolished, so that is why they are now using the small groups rather than the big groups. By the way, it was also the mistake from the Ukrainian side, then the convoy that consists of the many of the Bradley vehicles and Leopard tanks went close to the front lines. They were not fighting, but they were on a raid, let's say, across the minefields, and it was done in a very bad manner. In this Russian case, even though they used not many vehicles, as you can see just 3 of them, still they were demolished. The closer look at the Russian tanks, so there was some infantry, you probably might see it on one of the tanks, and after artillery struck Russian positions, they start to run away. I agree that it is hard to see the marking of those tanks, and we also have the T-72 tanks in Ukrainian army. Most of those were trophied. However, I'm sure that those are the Russian tanks because the video is coming from the Ukrainian resources originally, so it was filmed from Ukrainian drone for sure. It is the same place, just from the different perspective, because of the one of the artillery shells went into the T-72, it lost the turret. It was the classical one, the turret went to the space with a huge blast. I am unable to post the full video on this resource, so I have alternate one, the Telegram channel. You may find it in the video description just below. Let's go to the south part, where Ukraine gained more territory today. We should see the timeline, so it was yesterday and it is today. Little by little, Ukrainian army moves forward, and this is the most secure territory of the Russian defense. If we switch on the defense lines, you may see that near to Orikhiv they built lots of those, and even here Ukraine tries to get more territory. Yesterday we had the success near to Pyaty-Khatki, today over here in the central part, and tomorrow probably here. It's the most hot spot for now for the fights on the south. As for the Bakhmut area, there are no any changes for today. The Russian Offense Minister Shoigu today stated that if Ukraine plans to attack Crimean territory or territory of Russia using the HIMARS or the Storm Shadow missiles, Russia would respond in attacking Ukrainian centers of decision-making. Actually, before they already told about it many times, but failed to attack our administrative buildings. Now we have the advanced air defense systems, and I think we're gonna cope with attacks on Kyiv. He also said that in case of the Ukrainian attacks on Crimean Peninsula, they will see the United States and the United Kingdom as their direct enemy, which are involved in this military warfare. But after all, they're not planning to attack UK or United States, they are planning to conduct attacks on Kyiv in that case. Very strange. Probably they're just afraid of something. By the way, before, the Russian military bloggers already showed the photos of the Excalibur shells that they were able to find in the Belgrade Oblast, Russian Federation. There is even the marking, so for sure this is the Excalibur shell, 100%. So where was the mighty Russia with their response? They can respond just hitting civilian buildings with their cruise missiles. Basically, they just show that they're very weak, and our Western allies are able to supply everything we need for successful counterattacks in the future. Russia will not respond, they are bluffing. But there is the terrible thing that Russia might do. They mined the nuclear power plant in Zaporizhia. We got this information from our intelligence chief Budanov. He said that Russia mined the cooling system of all of the nuclear reactors. What worries me that the same guy around half a year ago told that Russia mined the dam of Novakhovka. By that time he said that the risk for Russia to destroy the dam is very high. Now he says that the risk for Russia to blow up the cooling system for nuclear power plant is also very high. It could be the biggest technological disaster that humans ever faced with. Here we have the wind calm scenario. So this circle, the amber one, is totally inhabited area in case of explosion of all of the 6 reactors of nuclear power plant. And this red area, probably you can see it, so all of the Ukraine mostly will be contaminated. Plus all of Moldova, Romania, Bulgaria, Turkey, Russia and Belarus. Well, it really depends on the wind, but contamination cloud may reach the western borders of Europe and Africa or cover the vast part of the Russian Federation. Well, we are not panicking, but there should be some sort of the action done to cope with this problem, because Russia turned the nuclear power plant into their military base and even mined it. Russians already performed one of the biggest technological disasters in Ukraine by blowing up the Novakhovka dam that touched also this nuclear power plant, so they potentially may explode the nuclear power plant. Yes, for me and you this is the total nonsense, but Putin, I think, may perform this step to avoid the military defeat in Ukraine, because in that case the war just stops. Well, it's really hard to predict of what will happen, but it will bring chaos not just in Ukraine but in nearby countries. It will create a huge refugee wave to Europe, to America, even to Latin America and to other countries around the globe. And potentially this situation may evolve into the bigger conflict than it is right now. The United States of America will provide Ukraine with more military help. It was announced today that they performed a revision of the delivered goods and the prices of their goods, and they found out that they still may supply Ukraine with $6 billion help till the end of this year. That's awesome. Yeah, I forgot to tell you about the news that according to the Telegraph, the Putin circle and other Russian officials start to drink more because they are in depression because of the Ukrainian successful military operations. Yes, Russians took the Bakhmut city, it happened recently, they celebrated as well by drinking more, but now they drink because they cannot cope with the Ukrainian counterattack. Yes, it goes very slowly, but still Ukraine takes the ground. And they also drink more because they lost their previous lives with the sanctions applied on Russia from the European Union, from America, Canada and Australia. I would say that it may also impair the decision-making abilities of the Russian elite. They were in lack of those abilities before, but now under the alcohol influence they may do the very stupid decisions. That is what I'm afraid of. Minus one more K-52 Russian helicopter from the last night. Awesome news. And many of the Iranian drones, those were shot down mostly, but 4 made it to their targets. Unfortunately, in Kiev and Lviv, the infrastructure was damaged by those drones. Our aviation also helps to fight against the drones, so here's the image from the MiG-29, probably one of those we received from our allies. So it fired the rocket and rocket hit the drone. You can see the cloud over there. It was filmed on probably Insta360 camera. Awesome video. That is why we need the Western-made fighter jets to fight against also the drones and against basically everything. Aviation matters nowadays. Alright, let's look at the Russian defense one more time. I would say that the most undefended part, if we speak about the trenches or the Dragon Tees as they call it, is this area. The most defended is near to Orikhiv, so basically you go all around the defense lines until you reach Melitopol. But in this direction it's kind of harder to propel forward because Russia has the supply lines just nearby and they may send more reinforcements from Donbass. Here in Melitopol, if you properly count the Russian supplies, it could be easier, even though there are lots of the trenches. But Russia needs lots of the shells, fuel and other stuff to be delivered to the front lines for them to be successful, also for the defense lines. Plus here to reach Berdyansk we need to cover around 115 kilometers, but to reach the Melitopol city we need to cover 87 kilometers, so much less. Plus there is the lake that automatically cuts Russians out, so basically we need to go through this distance to cut all of the Russian army in two. I guess that was the plan, but it is very hard to achieve this goal without aviation and long-range missiles. Yes, we have Storm Shadow cruise missiles, but we don't have the enough number of the airplanes to use them more effectively, let's say, and more often. That is why I think that the counteroffensive will be very slow with lots of the casualties, unfortunately, because Russia has aviation and we do not have it. It seems like our allies will supply the airplanes to Ukraine, but it will not happen this year, as our defense minister says. I watched the video today of Ben Hodges. He is the ex-commander of the United States forces in Europe, and he said that during the Second World War, then Allies opened the second front line and started to fight with Germany directly. It also wasn't very fast. With all of the preparations, Allies spent lots of the weeks to break through the Germany defense lines. Allies got the tremendous losses, and Germany tried even to counterattack, but unsuccessfully. It took several months longer than expected, so here, with a highly defended area, we cannot move forward very fast, unfortunately. But anyways, we as Ukrainians, we do believe in the armed forces of Ukraine, and I'm sure that this operation in general will be successful. Just remember, 1 year ago we were at defense, and now we are offending, taking our ground back. My friends, now press the like to this video, and also if you want to support my job, there are some links available in the video description just below. You may support me on Patreon, PayPal, or just on a sponsorship on this YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your awesome support. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.